All right, welcome to week 5 of the Senate Republican walkout, and we have a big development. The Senate Republicans came back to the Capitol. Now, before you get your hopes up, no, not for those reasons that a lot of people were hoping for. Instead of forming a quorum with Democrats and voting on the big stack of bills waiting for them, a group of Republicans spent last night in a room forming an unofficial committee. Okay. So what does this mean? Well, it turns out they say they want to investigate corruption in Salem and hold lawmakers accountable for ethics violations. To that end, they formed the new Joint Committee on Oversight and Accountability, and last night they held their first meeting. Okay, yeah, they certainly have a lot to talk about. There have been plenty of scandals in Salem this year. For example, there is the resignation of Secretary of State Shemia Fagan because she was moonlighting for a marijuana company. And then, of course, the OLCC playing favorites and setting aside top shelf or rare bourbon. You'll notice the video doesn't look great. We're going to talk about it in a second. But first, Republicans say they are sure there is more corruption out there. Here's the deal. As far as we can tell, this is completely unofficial as a committee, which means it doesn't seem to have any real power. They couldn't even get their meeting live streamed on the legislature's website. They had to have someone record it with their phone and then stream it on Twitter, hence the video. The Republicans say they have asked Democrats to join said committee, but say no one responded. And it seems that voters may not be the most interested either. The public comment period backfired on the Republicans in a big way. Instead of support for the new committee, they got an earful from some constituents about those walkouts. Now, you're not going to see people commenting since this was cell phone video and not official legislature video, but take a listen.
Oversight means delinquency, dereliction, fault, skip, and boo-boo. Here it's used in a sentence. Dang, Tina, using taxpayer funds for Republican legislators' salaries and per diems while they don't even show up to vote must surely be an oversight. Accountability means the obligation to explain, justify, and take responsibility for one's actions. It is commonly used in the context of people that are responsible to the public, such as politicians, by making their actions visible and having consequences when those actions are not acceptable. Here it is used in a sentence. Well, I'll be diggity damned if Oregon voters didn't already decide definitively that legislators were going to face accountability for these cowardly walkouts.
And I know with my job, I had to show up for work every day. And I had to do all the duties in my job, too. I couldn't choose which programs I could or didn't want to do. I had to do everything that was assigned to me by my boss. And I'm asking the same thing for all of you, for all the Republican senators. Show up on the floor, do your job. You don't have to vote for the bills, do your job.
And I'm also here to express my concern about the fact that there's a walkout and we're not getting anything done in the legislature. And I'm actually here to ask you all to go back to work. If you don't like the bill, then vote no, but please don't just walk out, have a tantrum, and put everything to a standstill.
It was a little colorful, wasn't it? We reached out to the Republicans to see if they had any response to the constituents' pleas that they go back to work. The Senate Republican office told us creating this unofficial committee and streaming a meeting on Twitter was them working. We knew that opening up the meeting for public testimony would likely mobilize left-wing activists, these are their words, who are angered over the constitutional protest. This was not a surprise. I did find it ironic that many testifiers were telling Republicans to get back to work as Republicans were in the Capitol doing just that, working. That is a stark difference from past walkouts. Meanwhile, the Senate is scheduled to meet on Monday, and Senate President Rob Wagner says that if Republicans do not show up, he's going to start fining them. The Senate voted yesterday to fine senators $325 for each day they do not come to work and keep lawmakers from having a quorum. That is the same amount they are paid every day, by the way, and they have been paid for the last month when they have not come in. Senate Republican leader Tim Knopp firing back, saying Wagner, a Democrat, should pay their fines, pointing to the bill around abortion and gender-affirming care, the one that has brought things to a standstill. Knopp writing, President Wagner is insistent on facilitating an unlawful, uncompromising, unconstitutional agenda. We suggest Wagner pay our fines since it is his behavior that galvanized our protest. If Democrats want us to provide a quorum before June 25th, they must agree to follow Senate rules, follow the law, and work to put forward constitutional bipartisan bills that don't violate parents' sacred right to love and care for their child, end quote. All right, we know that is a lot to digest, and we know, you often have a lot of thoughts on the walkout. As always, you can send them to thestory@kgw.com or leave us a voicemail. That number again for you, 503-226-5090.